Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to talk to you about over-winterizing your plants. But before we get started, I have a question to ask you. Did you know that pepper plants, all pepper plants, whether they're sweet, hot, or bell peppers, they are perennials? That's right. Some of you may have known this and some of you may have not, but they are perennials. And you can bring them indoors and replant it for next year. So all those pepper plants that you're growing, if you don't know, after you harvest them, stop throwing them away. I'm going to show you how to overwinterize. And if you live in the area like I live in, like in the zone 6 area, September, the middle of the September is the time to get those plants indoors. I know the weather is still nice, but you want to go ahead and do it now because those temperatures are slowly dropping. Once it hits 50, your plants are going to struggle. They are called soft perennials, okay? And the reason why they're called soft perennials is because they cannot tolerate frost. Once the frost hit them, they get stressed and they die. But with a little tender love and care, you can replant them for the spring and they'll come back bigger and more abundant than that first year crop. Think of them kind of like strawberries. The first time you plant your strawberries, you want to pluck off the heads and wait till the next year and you have much more strawberries, right? Well, it's the same thing with peppers. That first year, you get a nice crop, but that second year is going to be even better. So I'm going to show you how to overwinterize your plant. Oh, and for you people in Illinois and Indiana, you get frost too. So get them plants indoors. Stop buying seeds over and over again and bring those plants in. When you first start your planting, to dig up your plant, you want to make sure that you're digging at least 4 to 5 inches from the main stem. This is the main stem. You want to dig at least 4 to 5 inches from the main stem because you don't want to damage the roots. And make sure you're going deep enough to not damage too many roots when you pull this out of here. And make sure that you get all the rest of your little peppers off of here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of here. And you just want to go all the way around. Now I'm going to lift this out of here. And yes, it seems like it's pretty big, but you're going to take most of the soil off of here. See? And here are all your roots. So when you pull this out of here, you want to shake as much of the soil off as possible so that you don't have to worry about any amphibs or anything being in your soil when it's time to replant it. First thing I want to say, I apologize. I do have chickens, so you will hear them in the background. They like to make a lot of noise when they hear somebody out here, so I apologize for that. So for those of you who already have your plants in some type of container, you will skip this part and go straight to the pruning. This part is for those of you who are transferring from out of the ground and into a container. Whether it's a grow bag, a flower pot, or a food grade bucket, you want to make sure you have drain holes because you don't want them just sitting and standing in water. And you don't want them to have too much water because, again, these are going to go dormant. Hibernate if you want to, go to sleep, whatever you prefer, okay? You don't need anything bigger than a 2-gallon bucket. If you do, you don't want to fill that bucket up all the way because, again, you don't want the roots to grow because they're going to be dormant. If you have too much soil, the roots are steady spread, and if you feed them too much, they will be growing over the winter, and you don't want that, okay? So right now, I'm going to show you. You don't need more than 2 to 3 inches of soil to start with. So here we have our pre-moistened soil in there. We've shaken off our roots. And if you prefer, you can always use some neem oil and water and soak your roots to make sure you get rid of any bugs or amphibs that might have been in the soil. These don't have any, so I don't need it. But before I take them into my greenhouse basement, I am going to add a little neem oil just to kill any bugs that might have been sticking on there that I didn't see. Now, I'm going to zoom in for you. You can see where the original soil is on this plant. You don't need to go past that. You only need enough soil to just cover up the original soil that this plant came out of. And you want to make sure you're using potting soil, making sure that you're covering up any roots on the plant. You want to use potting soil. You want to make sure it's pre-moistened, always. Potting soil is more sterile. Any vegetables that's still on there, you want to take those off. I know it's hurtful, but chances are you're not going to have time for these to grow, especially if you live in my area or any of the surrounding areas. You're not going to have time. Okay, so this right here is a perfect example of a V plant. When you're able to make your plant into a V shape where the main branch comes up and then form a V, that makes your plant more stable. Even though, in my opinion, you don't get as big a vegetable, you get more. And they don't get big like that because you're putting more energy into the other branches. Okay, now the next step, we're going to remove all these leaves, these little spindly leaves. We're going to remove all those. So you're going to start clipping these off. Now I have all my leaves cut off of here, and this is what's left. Now notice that these little leaves right here that are on here, this is where your new branches are going to grow. Right up in here is where there's a joint, and there's another one right here. However, this particular joint right here is a bit dry, so this one up here is where I'm working with. So I'm going to cut it right above that joint where the leaf is, and right here it's a little leaf growing right here. So I've already did the cut here right above this joint, so this is fine. This is where your new branches are going to grow. Over here, right here, this is a new leaf growing right here. So I'm going to cut this off, and here is where I cut right above the joint. That's right here where a leaf is growing. I'm talking about this small leaf. So this one is going to come off of here, and just trim the rest of these little leaves that were on there down flush with our main branch. And this right here, this big thick one coming out of here, is our main branch. Normally, when you do your pepper plants, this would be the V that would be closer to the soil. I started this V kind of late, this V shape right here kind of late, so it's more above the ground than it should be. It actually should be closer to what was my ground in my garden, or if you're in a flower pot, this V shape should be closer to the soil. Again, I started late, so it kind of went up, and then I started the V, which is fine. So now this particular one is done. And as far as pruning, that's all you have to do to get these ready to go indoors in dormancy. After you've done your pruning, you want to give it a low dose of plant food one time during the whole winter. Okay, a 5-5-5 is just fine. That's it. No more plant food, nothing else. That's done. And all you have to do is keep it watered about once a week. Don't give it any more plant food. Don't give it anything else, because you're not growing your plant. You want it to keep in dormancy, so you don't want to keep feeding it. One time when you first put it away, and then water it about once a week. And then in the springtime, you're going to take this outside, if it's, you're going to keep it in a container, or if you're going to replant it in the soil in your garden, in your ground garden, you're going to take this out and replant it.